Hello Mad Goons and welcome to another Crafty Thursday. I'm Franky and today we're gonna be starting a new playlist called The Rot. The rot is a force that keeps on multiplying and corrodes everything around it. As far as anyone knows, the rot has been part of the world from the very beginning. I won't be showing you how to make the avatar of rot, but I'll be showing you what techniques I use to make it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the channel. And like always, don't forget to like the video if you found it useful. Without further delay, let's start the craft. Let's start off with the skeletons. I have way too many on my hand, and this seems like a perfect excuse for me to use them. I start off by collecting a whole bunch of bones from these toys and organizing them. I organize them by putting the ones that are still holding weapons on one pile and the ones that are just straight up bones on another one. I also get a few bones from a Halloween decoration. Funny enough, I guess I'm doing something Halloween related this month, even though I didn't really plan for it. Our next ingredient is Sculpt the Mold. I'll mix it in a small amount of water and some PVA glue. I then add the Sculpt the Mold to the mix. I add enough to make it feel like soft clay. I don't want it runny or anything. It has to be the right texture. Sculpt the Mold is an amazing material that is typically used for terrain builds, but I actually want to utilize how I can use its rough texture to simulate the sense of the sludge and the hair and all of those sort of nasties. So it's safe to say I will not be smoothing out any textures out of them when it comes to Sculpt the Mold. I'm using a 2-inch wooden base and I'm using some more skeletons as my frame. I add the Sculpt the Mold to the skeletons, purposely leaving some bones exposed. I plan to paint the rot in a dark red brown, and I think the bones will stand out in a good way if I leave them exposed. I think it will make a nice contrast. And also, don't expect the Sculpt the Mold to be enough adhesive. Sorry, English is not my first language. Adhesive to hold the skeleton while you work on it. I dropped the ball on this one, and I struggled at some points. Just be smart and hot glue the skeleton to the base from the start. I'm sorry, hot glue gun. I'll never doubt you again. The rot is not the animated dead. The rot uses death as fuel. So when I add the skeletons to my minions, I add them thinking that they are just tools to the rot. I take advantage of some skulls I had bought a long time ago. Wait, as a matter of fact, I think I remember when that was.
340 skulls. That's a lot of skulls.
And don't forget to add tacky glue to any of the bones you're adding to the minions. I make 5 of these guys, making them all look slightly different. The last one I made is a little bit bigger. I used the ribs from the Halloween decoration. I also go for a more centipede look. The last ingredient before we paint is to add the tentacle look and appendages that we made in the last episode with green stuff. If you're looking to play around with green stuff, check out that last video when I talk about what I learned from my first use of green stuff. I try to add them in an interesting way, with some of them holding the bones or the weapons or caressing the skulls. After this, I go ahead and start painting the monsters. Since I crafted the avatar of rot first, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the paint. I actually ended up painting the avatar of rot a few times, I think it was like 3 times, because I messed up on something huge that I didn't think would happen to the material. When I added the wash, it re-triggered or reactivated the Sculpt the Mold, making some of that white powder kind of come to the surface, and I had white spots on the whole thing. So a very important thing to do with Sculpt the Mold is to seal it. And the best seal I know for this type of material is actually Mod Podge. So I had to go back on the project and basically go over everything I had already painted and primered and primer it again, but this time I had to primer it with the black Mod Podge mix. And like I said, from this project you can take away how to make this big monster. Now I will be making the black dragon horns looking thing in the next episode, but I'll actually be using it as terrain. I didn't want to make another monster. I wanted to make it a little bit different. I wanted to use this same techniques that I use on the miniatures, but this time use it on the terrain. I think once I get a good amount of pieces for this terrain, the rot, I think this is gonna look nice because a lot of the details are gonna be repeating themselves. Another thing I want to mention is that you got to keep in mind that working with different scales changes things up. So you won't be using green stuff for this stuff. When I worked on this guy, I used wire for the arms. Then I used a little bit of the Sculpt the Mold over the wire to make it a little bit stronger. And then I put the air dry clay on top of it. I don't know, working on something this big, you start thinking about how fragile they are and where the weight goes. You don't want this thing falling over on your players. Thank you again for watching this episode of Franky D Crafter. Comment down in the comment section below. Sounds weird to say, but you let me know. I'll try to do my best to describe or answer any questions, and I'll catch you on the next one. Like I said, tips on how to make the avatar of rot coming up on the next episode. But if you can't wait, in the meantime, subscribe and watch some more of my videos to quench that crafting addiction you have. Peace.